So first, I'm going to hop on over into practice mode. Of course, I'm going to show you a few of my favorite moves with Raven. So for starters, let me see if he's on block. Yep. Okay. So the first move is standing 4-1. This move right here is a 12 frame high. In Tekken 8, they buffed this move to where if the kick lands on your block, you cannot duck the second part. That was an issue that Maven had, Master Raven from Tekken 7, where if you block her first initial attack, you can duck the follow-up. In this game, it jails, so you have to take this. Also, what I noticed is they changed that move from being +5 on hit to now being +7. So you're going to be +7 in back turn, which is going to leave you at an amazing an amazing position to mix up your opponent, which is something I love to do. Now, because this move is a high, what ends up happening is your opponent is going to just start blocking, right? They're going to start ducking, I mean. So this is a concern. So this is where down back 2 kick comes into play. Now, just about every Raven player knows the significance of down back 2, specifically the first part. Even though you do have a follow-up, but I'm not a fan of using a follow-up, especially with the level of competition I usually fight against, because they will simply block the high and duck. It'll be like this, and then they'll launch me and take all my life. So that's not something that that I'm willing to risk. However, as I mentioned with 4-1, you cannot duck that. After the first kick lands, you have to deal with the other part of the string. So I pretty much alternate between 4-1 and down back 2. And I feel like that's a strong mix because both moves leaves you in back turn. 4-1, you're +7 on hit. Down back 2, you're +5 on hit. The way I utilize both of those strings in a match is I'm going to be fishing for this attack quite often, because 12 frames, you have to preemptively, you have to be ducking already. It's like if you were trying to deal with an electric, you're not going to see an electric win Godfist and duck on reaction. You're not going to do that. It doesn't work that way. So you're going to have to already be ducking. So that's where every now and then I'll throw in down back 2. And if it lands, I'm +5. If it doesn't land, I know I can just turn back around. It won't. I won't suffer any kind of retaliation from my opponent, because if they're trying to mash buttons, I know I can always exit out the back turn stance like this. Same goes with 4-1. I can just exit out the stance, and I'm safe. But if I do see them really mashing quite a bit, I will every now and then go for the attack parry like this. I will do that. And then if my opponent starts to kind of realize that's what I'm going for, eventually your opponent is going to just don't do anything. So they'll block a down back 2 and not do anything, and block a 4-1 and not do anything, because they're concerned with the potential you may do an attack reversal. So that's just another layer of conditioning your opponent, which is something I'm exceptional at doing. Now, when I manage to land standing 4-1 on my opponent now has to decide whether or not I'm going to follow up with back turn forward 4-1 or back turn back 2-4. Because both options, as you look at the frame advantage, are 16 frames. So back turn forward 4 is 16 frames, and back turn back 2 is 16 frames. Now, another option I do that's mid is I would do back turn forward 1. Now, a lot of Raven players don't prefer this particular move because there technically isn't anything guaranteed from it. However, in most cases, when I do get this, I just do 3-4 because I'm already back turned at the start of this. So if back turn forward 1 connects, you're in this position. And from here, I just do 3-4. Now, most of the time, I have hit my opponent with this. The way out of this is when you're back turned like that, you have to literally just hold, I think it's either, you just have to hold down back and you'll move out of the way like this. And that will allow you to avoid this. However, if I do see you avoiding it doing this, that's where I can start doing this. Forward 3. Because now the forward 3 is going to catch you because the initial movement of getting out like this is a duck. And then if I land this, I can then follow up with another move. So it becomes this layered mix-up. But if you want to keep it easy, if you want to keep it simple as a mid option 16 frame, you can always just do this. That's 31 damage. It's pretty decent. It's +2 on hit. And if you think about it, this is 31 and this is 29. So that's like over 60 damage right there. I think like 61 or 62 damage just by landing this and doing this. And conversely, if you want to do your low option, that will look like this. So that's, basically 29 plus 28. And it might be a little bit more because more often than not, when you do land your standing 4-1, more often than not, it will be a counter hit. And there might be times where the follow-up from back turn might be a counter hit. So you might actually get even a little bit more damage. So that's generally my go-to strings in the neutral, where I'm just basically, I'm fishing for this. And if you're ducking, I'm going to be checking you with this. Now this does not, down back 2 does not give you the same amount of advantage on plus frames because you're getting +5 as opposed to being +7. But you can still, I've still been able to make use of the 16 frame mix up from here. But if my opponent is really mashing buttons, preventing me from doing my 16 frame attacks, what I will start doing at this point is if this connects, then I will do the back turn knee, which is 13 frame startup. So that will look like this. And at that point, if the knee lands on counter hit, you're at +14. And for me personally, my preferred go-to when this lands on counter hit is just simply do back 4-4 to put myself back in the back turn position, because this is +6 as you can see here. So again, if I land the knee, right? If I land the knee and then I follow it with back 4-4 for 43 damage, and I'm back into the back turn stance at +6 to do additional mix-ups. Now, of course, when you have this 14 frame advantage, sure, you can do your heat engager. That's 14 frames. Sure, you can do your down forward 1-4. There's a lot of other options you can do. But personally speaking, I just feel pound for pound, that to me is the better option. Mix up as you see fit, but I feel that you will get a lot of mileage out of running this and just mixing up between this move, the low, and this one. But as I said, I do utilize this. You know, so it depends on you. Now, what I want to do right now is I want to switch on over to Tekken 7 and kind of show you the origins of where I got this idea from. So, all right, so as you can see right now, I'm in Tekken 7. Man, this game looks god-awful, but let me just get to the point. So that whole 4-1 business I was doing with Raven, I got the idea to really rely on that from an update that Namco gave Lei, or gave toward the end of Tekken 7, where Lei could do standing 1-1 into Snake. And it looks like this. So 4-1 with Raven on block will put you in back turn at -3, where you can exit out the stance and block, as I just showed you. With Lei, however, you are -5, but because you're in Snake, with Snake stance, you automatically block mids and highs. So you're already in the same situation. The only real difference is that standing 1-1 from Lei does not cover the same amount of distance, but it does come out at 10 frames. So you will interrupt a few more things than you will using Raven's 4-1, because Raven's 4-1 is 12 frames, 12 frame startup. But from a concept standpoint, this is essentially the same goddamn mix-up. Now let me just show you when I managed to connect. Standing 1-1 into Snake, I'm +6. Now what ends up happening is what you've seen prior with Raven in Tekken 8, where in this position at +6, I can either do Snake 4-1, which is essentially Raven's back turn forward 4-1. It's exactly the same move. This is the exact same move, essentially. Or for the mid option with Lei, I could do Lei's famous Snake Bites, which is Snake 2-2-2. That's 40 damage, 43 on counter hit. So if you were to put these together, it would look like this. The mid option, that is 62 damage. The low option, 46 damage. So 62 and 46. Do you know how many times I have terrorized people utilizing this? More than I can count. It is very easy to land this on your opponent with Lei. And this is something I've never seen Lei players utilize. It's a travesty. And I kind of stopped competing in Tekken shortly before Lei came out. Lei came out literally on my birthday, September 6, 2017. And at the time I was competing in Tekken 7, I was using Steve Fox. So by the time Lei came out, I had already stopped competing in tournaments. So the only people that really got a chance to see me play were the people on Xbox Live and a handful of people offline. But I really liked where Lei was at the end of Tekken 7, because utilizing this, that was a game changer for me. And as I showed you with Raven and Tekken 8, it's essentially the same thing. Utilizing Raven's 4-1, getting that +7 back turn, and utilizing his 16 frame mid and low options is essentially the same thing as me doing Lei's standing 1-1 into Snake and then using Snake's 15 frame options. It's from a concept standpoint, it's the same thing. So that's actually what attracted me to using Raven in Tekken 8. Now another move while I'm here that I can actually show this with Master Raven, since I already have her already here. Hold up. Sometimes I forget how to utilize this. Oh, here we go. So with Maven, this move here, down back 3. What I do notice about this move versus Raven's version in Tekken 8 is that it's still +5. It does knock down. The only difference I notice is that it's 29 frames, whereas Tekken 8 version is 28 frames. But I want to show this because this move from Raven is very similar, if not the same, as Lei's Panther 3. This move is 20 frames. And I would love if Namco were to speed up Raven's down back 3, because I do feel it is a very strong move, because the mix of this down back 3 and up forward 3 it is very real. And in Tekken 8, it's been enhanced to where, you know, up forward 3 is a combo starter. Whereas here in Tekken 7, you need a counter hit. So I'm going to show you that right now as I switch back to Tekken 8. This version of Raven, it's normal. So this is very strong. And I think sometimes there might be Raven users in Tekken 8 that may have forgotten some of the differences between him and Maven from Tekken 7. Now, this is a very strong mix. Down back 3 versus up forward 3. Because even though both of these moves are very slow from a startup standpoint, they only have a 1 frame difference between each other. So deciding between this versus this, when you're defending against it, it's very tricky, because you can't wait and see to determine which one the opponent is doing. You're either going to commit to ducking, or you're just going to stand there. And if you're standing there expecting up forward 3, if I do down back 3, you're going to get hit. So this is a very strong mix, and one that I definitely use in addition to the other moves that I shared earlier. Now, with down back 3 being +5 on hit, what I like is if the opponent happens to mash buttons, you get a free counter hit while standing 2, which is going to give you a very decent amount of damage. You know, very decent amount of damage. Just insert whatever combo you want. Now, what ends up happening is when your opponent gets hit with down back 3 and they're no longer mashing for fear of getting hit with a counter hit while standing 2, they're going to literally not press anything. So this is your opportunity, and one that I utilize a lot, to just simply go into back turn by just simply holding the opposite direction and pressing both kicks. So now I kind of conditioned my opponent to no longer press buttons, because that might happen. So now when I do land this, I go in a back turn and execute my back turn options. So that might be something that you may want to explore. So definitely, again, down back 3 and up forward 3, very strong. If I happen to get up forward 3, I get a pretty decent combo as well. I definitely like this move. It's very strong. So pretty much the mix up between down back 3 and up forward 3 is very strong. Definitely give it a chance. If by some chance you happen to get a down back 3 on counter hit, the most damaging option I found was just simply very quickly sidestepping up and just doing back 3, and it'll look like this. And that's 40 damage. and you're +7, and so you can just run up on your opponent and continue your pressure. So Raven does have some solid tools. It's just that compared to the other characters in this game, he's just not that great. So moving on to what I would like to consider his 20 frame mix. His down 4, which is 21 frames, -2 on hit, and +13 on counter hit. I like to mix this move up between this and up forward 4. Up forward 4 is 20 frames. It's a mid. I would like to see this move buffed, just pretty much from the standpoint of the hitbox of this move is expanded lower, because there's been situations where I've crushed a low attack, but because the hitbox of this move isn't that low, it just didn't work like a traditional. It just didn't work the way it should. Where if you're doing a low attack and I do a hopping attack, the hopping attack should beat out the low. So hopefully they'll patch that. But another thing that I would like to see changed, and this is just one of the advantages of this particular string, is up forward 4-4. Up forward 4-4 being -15, that's got to go. They need to change that to like -12 or at the most -13. Why I like this is because in the event your opponent is mashing, the second 4 will knock them down on counter hit, to where you can follow up with up forward 3, and that's guaranteed. So use that, add that into your repertoire. Once your opponent takes enough of these, they will stop mashing. Where this is where you could just do up forward 4 and hold back and cancel into your back turn stance, and follow up with your mix as you see fit. There's been times in matches where I've literally did up forward 4 like several times in a row, because I've conditioned my opponent to no longer mash buttons, because they don't want to get hit with that on counter hit. So Raven requires you to condition your opponent, which is very difficult to do, as opposed to using a brain dead character like Jin, Dragunov, Warang, Reina, Lydia, all these characters, Law. These characters, you can literally shut your brain off and just run your flowchart, your mindless flowchart. There really isn't no need to condition your opponent, because you're just going to do your string anyway. So, so I really hope that Namco does nerf the characters that are in obvious need of nerfing, and definitely buff Raven. I don't need Raven to be broken, but there are just certain things about Raven that need to be addressed. But yeah, those are some of my go-to moves. It's not everything, of course. I'm well aware of forward 2-3 and the benefits of that move. Standing 3-3 is also a very strong move to use in neutral. Also, back 1, if you can condition your opponent to stop mashing, you can do your soul zone drops. I'm well aware of all of that, but the moves I just showed you earlier are definitely my go-tos. And also, hopefully you enjoyed that little trip down memory lane with Tekken 7, and showing you just how similar my mix of Lei's standing 1-1 into Snake is similar to Raven's 4-1 back turn into mix. Pound for pound, one of the best low attacks in the game, I would say, is Raven's Aqua Spider. You can full crouch down forward 3, or you can crouch dash into it. This move is amazing. It does give you +2 for you to execute your back turn options at 10 frames. So it is definitely a workhorse, and another move that I definitely abuse in neutral. So to recap, down back 2 mid check. I'm definitely running 4-1 If either down back 2 or 4-1 are blocked, I simply cancel out the back turn stance. Or if I'm seeing my opponent is mashing, I will attempt an attack reversal. Also, I'm observing what my opponent is doing. If they're doing hop kicks or slower retaliations than 10 frames, if they're doing moves that are slower than a jab, then I will mix in back turn 1+2, which is the armor and the armor move. If this move lands, of course you get 4-4-2 guaranteed. It's definitely a good move to, that's a good follow-up. Just pay in mind, this move is -13 on block. So there's a lot of conditioning going on, and this is part of the reason why Raven is a very difficult character to pilot. It's very hard to autopilot Raven because there's so much that you have to consider, as opposed to using a brain dead character like Reina, where you could just forward 2 coin flip your way to victory. But hopefully in the upcoming season, the spring update, Namco will give Raven some meaningful moves. The last thing I want to say is that it is absolutely complete bullshit that Raven has the slowest running move in the game, whereas King, a wrestler, has a 20 frame running attack. And then I later just realized, because I don't really lab a lot of this stuff when it comes to the running moves. Jack has 2 running moves. He has a running shoulder that's 20 frames, and he has a running 2 that's 22 frames. Both are mid. So I don't know how you have a character that's supposed to be a ninja with the slowest running attack in the game. That doesn't sit well with me, considering, whenever I think of a ninja, I'm thinking 3 things: stealth, running, and speed. So I don't know how you're going to have Raven running at you and give him the slowest running attack. But anyway, I can bitch and complain about that all day. Hopefully this video related to you in some way. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Anyway, I'm out. I'm going to start prepping for the next video. There's a lot of crazy gaming news to cover, so I'm probably going to dive into that. But anyway, take care. Peace.